Hello everybody, this is Brian Seymour, Director of Instructional Technology for Pickerington Local School District. Today I'd like to take you on a little refresher for the AIR tests, which are our science and social studies tests in the state of Ohio. So real quickly, we're just going to kind of run through a few things. I would strongly recommend that you have the script that the state of Ohio, which is right here, has released. This is a 12-page document. And I have to say this is really well written. Lots of nice pictures for the teachers to be able to see as they go through. And the script is embedded right in with the directions. So unlike Park, where you had to use two different pieces, if teachers use this, they should be able to navigate through and have everything they need. All right, so what we're going to look at is there's a few things that we need to do before we even start administering the tests. Okay, so the first thing we need to look at is we need to go into Tide here, and we need to make sure that everything is updated. We need to make sure that our staff members are all in there that are going to administer the test, make sure they have working passwords, and we also need to make sure that we have all of our students in there and that all of their accommodations and all of their needs are set in there. We have set all the accommodations according to what we've had with IEPs and such, but you may want to go back in and double check those kids just to make sure. The teachers, when they administer the test, will be able to also double check all those accommodations and be able to make changes at the last minute on this as well. The other piece that you might want to take a look at and make sure that you have is the students are going to need to have their SSID number to log in. Most of the students do not know their SSID number. So we've made up note cards and little stickers, and on those note cards, the little stickers, they need to be attached, obviously. It has the student's first name, has the student's SSID number as well. All right, so when they log in on the iPad, they're going to need their first name, they're going to need their SSID number, and they're going to need the session number that the teacher is going to create. All right, so if we go back to this document here for a second, and we're going to take a look at the very beginning. So what teachers are going to do is teachers are going to log in. Now here's the kicker with logging in. Teachers can only log in no earlier than 20 minutes before the first kid starts the test. So if you have an overzealous teacher and they log in, all right, and they log in, let's say, an hour before the test starts, it's not going to work. That test session is not going to allow any kids to come in. So they really need to do this right before the session starts. Okay, so they'll go here to this page. This is the website we've given them, and they'll click on TA Interface. All right, when they click on TA Interface, they'll get this. This is the login screen. They are changing some of this login screen, so it's easier to reset passwords and so on and so forth, so you don't have to call the Ohio Help Desk like you've had to in the past, but they're working on that currently. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And we'll log in here. So the teachers then, when they get to this page, they will need to know exactly what test it is that they're giving, okay? They need to make sure they select the right grade level. They need to make sure they select the right test. Now, you'll notice here, this says Grade 4 Social Studies PBA. The one below it looks very similar. It says Grade 4 Social Studies PBA Group, all right? The only reason that you would use group is if you have a group of kids that the teacher is going to be doing a read aloud to a small group of kids. Now here in Pickerington, we're utilizing the text-to-speech on that, so we shouldn't have any kids that are in this group. Okay, but if you'd have a situation where you'd have kids that needed that small group and the teacher's actually reading aloud, you'd select a group. So make sure our teachers select just the one without the word group. And as you scroll down through here, you can see all of these as you go through. One of the things here in Pickerington we call our physical science course, we actually call it integrated science. So please make sure those teachers know that are delivering the or administering the physical science test, make sure that they understand that that's not going to show up as integrated, it's going to show up as physical science. Okay, so when you're ready, all you're going to do is you're going to click here, okay, and you're going to click Start Session. So whatever subject it is, and grade and make sure they get the right one. Okay, I'm especially kind of concerned about our middle school because they have 2 tests. So if I'm supposed to be delivering a 6th grade social studies, but for some reason I accidentally select 5th grade science, and I give out that session ID number, which is going to pop up, and we've got some problems. Okay, so 4th grade social studies, we're just going to pick that one, and I can go up here and I can start the session. Okay, this will now be your start session window. The most important thing off of here, right off the bat, is this session ID number right here. This needs to be written on the board, all right, and with all the dashes exactly like it is. The students will then have to use this as the 3rd part of their login. So they'll need their first name, they'll need their SSID number, and they'll need this. As students start to enter into the session, they'll pop up down here, and as you can see, this says 0 students in session. So as students, and you can click here for some more directions. As this opens up, and let me show you, it's actually easier on the paper here. So as students start to pop in, all right, so the kids will log in. The kids will get a window that says, is this you? It'll give them information about, is this you? Okay, and then it'll say your test. So they'll click on this test, and then they'll get a window on their iPad that says waiting for TA approval. Okay, so what the teacher then has to do is the teacher will get an approval window, which will pop up here. You can see it says 0 because obviously we don't have any kids taking this test right now. So approvals, and then it'll say the student name, it'll say the SSID number, and it will say test settings. And with this test settings, this little orange box here, the teacher can actually go in and see all of the accommodations. And if they need to, they can make any changes as well. So you've got all of these different, there's like 6 different accommodations that are set. The other piece that's in here that I kind of want to point out to you, make this a little bit bigger here. So here's the accommodations. Those of our kids that have extended time, the TA needs to click on the button here that says Other. Okay? That will then just note that they had some other kind of accommodation, which that accommodation is extended time. So for all of our extended time kids in the Science and Social Studies test, we need to click on Other here. Then the teacher can go ahead and set and approve, and now that kid is ready to go and they can start in on the test. All right, so let's move this back out. You can also do a massive upload, which basically means that you agree and you get the entire class. The only thing that I don't like with that is that you don't go student by student to check to make sure those accommodations are all set. Okay, so it might be a good thing to have a conversation with some of those teachers, especially those of our spec ed teachers, to make sure that they know what all the accommodations are for all of those kids. Okay, the kids will then get something that says, is this your test? Look at that. It says grade 5 science. Make sure that it's in the right thing. If it's not, they click no. If it is, then they hit yes, start my test. When they click on Start My Test, that's when the time starts to go. So for anything not high school related, it's 75 minutes. And those of you giving a high school related test, it's a 90-minute test. Okay. Text-to-speech will come up for those kids that it's been enabled for, and it'll actually say, did you hear this in English text? No, I didn't hear it. Yes, I did. You can change the sound settings on here as well. Okay. Once the sound settings are set, you can't change them after the test because that part starts to lock down. Okay. The kids will then get this on their test. So let's magnify this a little bit. This is what their test will basically look like. So they've got a back arrow, they've got a next arrow, they've got a save button, they've got a pause button, and they've got an end test button. Okay. So obviously this pause button would be used if they need to take a bathroom break, or if you've got kids that, maybe spec ed kids that need to take lunch. There is built into AIR something called the 20-minute pause rule. The 20-minute pause rule basically says that if the test is paused for more than 20 minutes, then students will not be able to go back and view any previously viewed or answered questions. Okay, so we need to make sure that if we're taking breaks, especially for our spec ed kids for lunchtime, that they go back and they review any of those questions before they pause their test and take lunch. Okay. Over here to the side are your different tools, and those will change as you go through the different types of tests. Kids will click on Begin Test Now. This is actually right here where the time will actually start. Once again, 75 minutes for those that are not high school, and 90 minutes for high school level tests. Okay. So as you go through, teachers will be able to monitor the test in a very similar format to what they saw on Park. So kids can actually, or teachers can actually go in and see all of this material. Teachers can also pause, and it does keep track of time. So you can see this student here, Donna Arnold, has been paused for 2 minutes. Okay. So, as you go down through, the next step then, and we'll go back to the actual website, is to end the test. Okay. So if students are done, let's go back to this real quick. If students are done, they can click on the End Test button. And if the teacher, when either all the kids are done or time has run out, the teacher can go up here to Stop Session. And when they hit Stop Session, it will give you a warning message. And we'll click on OK. And now that session is stopped. Okay, so any of the kids that are still in that session will be locked out of that session on their iPads. They will not be able to access any more of it, and the session will end. Okay. If we have any makeup sessions, okay, so kids that are absent, what you'll have to do is whoever is given the makeup session will just have to go in and go through these steps again with whatever group it is that they're making up. One of the things that you have to be careful with this one is that you're giving the makeup test to the proper kids. Okay, you don't want to give out session ID numbers to kids that need a social studies test if it's a science test, and so on and so forth. So we just need to be careful with those types of things. A couple of things that I think that may be slight issues going forward. One, when the kids log in, all they're going to need to enter in is their first name. I'm not sure if you enter in their first name and last name if it's going to do anything weird. And it needs to be exactly as it is in Infinite Campus. So the note cards that we created have it exactly as it is in our SIS, which is Infinite Campus. Okay, so with that, if it's spelled wrong, they need to spell it exactly like it is on that note card. If they go by, let's say their real name is Michael and they go by Mike, they need to put in Michael. Let's say they go by their middle name for normal times. They need to put in whatever their legal first name is. Okay. The other thing that I think might be a slight problem is the teachers logging in too early. So if they start the session too early and you get messages on the kids' iPads that says like the session is invalid or can't find the session, or students are just having trouble logging in, that's got to be what the problem is that students, the teachers basically logged in too early on that. Okay. Outside of that, I would really strongly suggest that you go through this document here with your staff. Make sure that everybody has copies of this so you can see how the students end the test and how the administrator ends the test, like I said, with the stop button. There are also 2 really good pages on the back of troubleshooting issues, okay, that you can do. The hard restart on iPads is still going to work as it did with the Park test, so if you have any of those. The only thing that I'm a little more concerned with this than I am with Park is that there's no Proctor caching at all with the AIR test. There's only straight to the internet. So I'm a little worried that we're going to get some internet or network issues, but we'll see how we're doing. Supposedly this is supposed to be low graphics, so there's not going to be any high-level graphics or videos or anything like that playing. So I really honestly think we should be okay. All right, so like I said, please take some time and look through this document. It's in the Google Drive folder. I've got it called ODE AIR Test TA Script. And then those of you that aren't in Pickerington that might be watching this video, you can find this on the reference or the resource section inside of Tide. All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call, and hope everything goes well for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.